right, so before we're solving quadratics by factoring, today what I have up here, this is the quadratic. Unfortunately, if you look at this, you can't get to 5. If I take 3 times 2, I get 6. I could get to 5. I probably could factor this one, but there's another way to do it because not always can you factor. So this is the quadratic formula. This is negative b plus or minus, because when you have a square root, it's either the positive or the negative. The square root of b squared minus 4, and the 4 times the a times the c value, and 2a. And that's where I was telling you earlier about the fact that the n squared, or the variable squared, happens to be the a value. The n, non-squared n, is the b value, and the term without a variable is the c variable. So all we're going to do is substitute. So what I have here, and if you look at the reference sheet, and for you guys at home, that's going to be under materials. For you guys here, look at that reference sheet. This is what I do when I replace b. Ordinarily, I would say it's -1 times the value of b, which is 5. Well, -1 times 5 is -5, right? Or the opposite. So remember we talked about the opposite of? So this is the opposite of what b is. Well, b is 5, so the opposite of 5 is -5. And you're going to put your plus and minus and draw your radical. Now, here it's b squared. It's not the opposite of it, it's b squared. So it's 5, and we put the square on it. -4 is just -4. And now we're going to have to do some parentheses because we're talking about multiplication here. What is a? A is the 3. What is the c? It is, guys, take a look at that. It's -2. -2. All of that times 2 times whatever a is, and a is 3. So 2 times 3, and this orange marker is going in the garbage. It's awful. So does everybody see that? All right, so hopefully everybody got that. All we did is take the formula that we have, and we just substituted for these. Now, it's got to be in this order. We're going to be working later on where this is not going to be this order and you have to flip them around. But for the sake of just learning this formula stays the same. It's a process. It stays the same. You just replace your b, the opposite of b here, what b is here, what a is, what c is, and then down at the bottom, it's 2 times whatever a is, and you just replace it. Now, the parts that you're going to do, and you're going to need your calculator here, you need to do the 5 squared part. You need to do -4 times 3 times -2, and at the bottom, 2 times 3. So what is 5 squared? No, it's 5 times 5. 25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this -5, this plus, this minus, and all of this square root. And 5 squared is 25. Now, I need to do all 3 of these. -4 times -2 is going to give me 8. 8 times 3 is what? Anybody? 24? You're going to enter all that in your calculator. -4 times 3 times -2. Now, I did it in my head because I liked 2 times 4 is 8 because they're both negative, so I know it's going to be 8, and 3 times 8 is 24. All right? Draw your line. 2 times 3 is 6. Now, we're not done because we need to fix this part on the inside. So what am I going to do? -5 plus or minus the square root, and 25 plus 24 is 49. And it's all over the 6. Whoops, all over 6. So what I've done I substituted the numbers. I did the square part. I multiplied all three, and I multiplied the bottom, and I put them together. I had two answers because the 5 squared and all three of those multiplied come out to an answer. I added those two together. Now I have square root. Now, on your calculators here, I can show you where the square root button is. Can you see okay from there? There we go. All right. So there's the square root button. Does everybody see it? This is your calculator. Square root's right there. So you push square root, and that little part jumps up right there. See it? I just pushed the square root button, and then I put 49 in there. And this one happens to be a perfect square root. It's 7, because 7 times 7 is 49. So this is what you're going to do, guys. You're going to rewrite it up here. -5 plus or minus 7 over 6. So I took the square root part, it became 7, and I put it over there. Anybody not understand that? And don't worry, we're going to go through a few more of these. So I just did the square root of 49, and I just changed it to 7. Don't put the square root back on it because we took care of the square root, okay? Now, does everybody see it's -5 plus 7 and it's -5 minus 7? Well, we need to do that. So -5 plus 7 over 6, and then that's the top part, and then we need to do -5 minus 7 over 6. Everybody get that? See the plus and minus? Guys, because -7 times -7 is 49, and 7 times 7 is 49. That's why there's a plus and a minus, because those could be negative. We multiply the top, or we add the tops together. So -7 plus, or I'm sorry, -5 plus 7 is 2 over 6. And -5 minus 7 is, what do we got there? -13. Oops. No, 12. Sorry. Thanks for correcting me. So are we done there then? Can we reduce these? Put them in your calculator. Put the 2, the fraction button, 6, and it equals. What's that come out to be? One over 3. Correct. -12 over 6. -2. Once again, we don't put bracket, we don't put parentheses because that would mean it's a coordinate point. These are the x-intercepts. These are the x-intercepts, or the x's, the zeros. This is where the parabola crosses the x-axis. You guys at home, I get it. You don't have the fancy smancy calculators I do here. If you can't reduce, I'm not gonna be overly upset about that as an answer, but this is the true answer. I know when you get to this and you go, wait a minute, that's not what's on my paper. That's because it needs to be reduced. So just to quickly go over this, because we're gonna go to another one. Opposite of what A is, I'm sorry, B is 5. Well, we do the opposite of it. We put the regular one in there, make sure the square goes back on it, right? Then A and C in parentheses, and 2 and A. We do the squared, the 3, and the bottom. Every single time we do this, we add or subtract the 2 here. Then we do the square root. We put it over here. Do not put the square root back on it. Then you have to split it apart because it's a plus and a minus. That's all we did. See the centers? And then just do your regular math on it. So that's okay. We're going to move on to the next one. Yes, sir. Which one? This, the formula? No, the formula is on your paper I gave you. You don't have to. This part that I'm doing right now, just the formula itself without anything in it. No, I'm just doing it so you guys can see what it is. I mean, If I were you, I would go ahead and write it every time, because that way you're gonna get used to what the formula is. But I'm always gonna give it to you. I'm not gonna surprise you with it, and you do get a reference sheet. So this is quadratic formula. I just want you guys to remember to see it. You do have it as reference, and I can't believe that I have a 143 in there. I thought I got rid of all the big numbers, but I guess I did not, and that's okay, because numbers don't matter, guys. So once again, this is the A because it's the squared. This is the B because it's a V, just a regular, and this is the C because it doesn't have a variable. By the way, that's a 1 out there. Does everybody see that? That's a 1 out front. So just take it one piece at a time. The opposite of B. B is 2, so it's -2. Bring the plus, the minus, the radical. Hell, you can throw the line in there for right now. Now, we're going to go to B squared. So it's what B is, but with a square. So it's 2, B is 2, so we 2 squared. The -4 stays because it's the number. Now we're going to replace the A and the C. So the A is the part in front of the V squared, which is 1. So we put a 1 there. The C is this big number, 143, that I messed up on. You're not going to have any more of those, I don't think. I think I just missed that one. Then we go to the bottom. It's 2 times the A. Well, A is 1. So all we did was substitute here. We took the letters and we changed them. The only one that's funky is this one because it's the opposite of B. By the way, if B was -2, then it would have been a 2 here. Everything else is as it sits. Nothing changes, okay? Now, real quick, we're going to do this part, the square part, all 3 of those numbers multiplied together, and the 2 numbers on the bottom. So I'm going to rewrite -2 plus or minus and the radical. 2 squared, which is 2 times 2 is 4. Now, somebody help me out here. -4 times 1 is -4, so -4 times -143. What is it? It's not going to be negative. There's 2 negatives in there. It's going to be a positive. 143 times 4? 520, 572? Okay, good. 2 times 1 is 2. All right. So then what do we do next? We do the 2 on the inside because we can do that. Guys, you're not going to be able to add or subtract to the radical. You're not going to be nothing to do on the bottom. So it's the only 2 things that you can do. 4 plus 527. So once again, I'm going to rewrite the 2, the plus, the minus, and the radical, and the 2. And I'm going to take 4 plus 572 is going to be 576, right? Now, on your calculator, once again, trying to get that light away, I'm going to hit my square root button right there. I'm going to hit 576. I'm going to hit equals. And what does it come out to be? 24. So this is the part we did, this whole thing with the radical. So we're going to rewrite -2 plus or minus. Guys, don't put the radical because 576 is 24. That square root, that radical, does not go back on it. And that's a big mistake some people make, and the 2. So all I'm doing is the pieces in there. And this happens the same way. Notice it. I did this, this, and this. I did this on the inside. I did the whole thing. I put it here. Well, guess what? There's -2 plus 24 and -2 minus 24. So I have a -2 plus 24 over 2 and a -2 minus 24 over 2. All I did is split it apart because of this plus and minus. One is plus, one is minus. All right? Then you just do the tops. -2 plus 24 is 22 over 2. Do the tops. -2 minus 24 is -26 over 2. Then just do the whole thing, guys. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Negative 26 divided by 2, negative 13. Guys, if you can't do a bracket like that, you can do that. One of the two. But do not do that. This is a coordinate point, and this is not a coordinate point. So if you want to do a bracket or a brace, I think that's a brace, that's a bracket. Yep, brace, bracket, and parentheses. So either one, brace or brackets, but you can't use parentheses, okay? So are you catching on? It's a lot of work, but it's the same thing over and over again, no matter what the numbers. Right now, I'm not gonna mess you up. These are gonna be perfects, but there's gonna be a time where this is not gonna be a perfect. So be careful with that, okay? We'll get to that. I'm not gonna be mean on you just quite yet. And I don't know how much we'll do of that, where they're imperfects. But it's stuff that you worked on earlier, and if you were in my room earlier in the year, we worked on. All right, so number 3 on your paper is 5n squared. Does anybody notice on the reference sheet that all the lines and everything are there for you? So notice how we do that, how you get the number up there and it's split. Do you see the reference sheet? Yeah, it's kind of nice that way, isn't it? For you guys at home, if you don't have it printed, this is what I'm talking about. You got all the spaces to sub everything in. You've got the first step where I'm going to multiply or do the square part, then the 3, then the bottom, then I'll have the square root. And when I put it over here, notice there's not a radical over here. I don't have a radical because it's gone. And then there's the part to split it apart, and then there, and then your answer. I want to show it to you without that. I want you to use it as, because you can't have that reference sheet on any exam. I mean, you can have it for mine, but if you had an assessment, you would not be able to use it, okay? So I'm going to put this here. How would I use this, you're asking? Well, okay, I know it's B. So what's B? Well, I'll put it up there. So we have the A, the B, and the C, because it's in that order. The n squared is the A, the n is the B, and the no n is the C. So we want opposite of B, or negative 1 times B, which is the opposite of B. B is 1, so it's negative 1. Plus or minus the square root. We have B squared, so 1 squared. We'll put the negative 4, and then what? A is 5, right? C is negative 4. A is 5, 2 times A. Whoops, which should be a 5. I put the A down, 2 times 5. So that's that part. That's how I would use that as a reference. And then I can keep going and knowing, well, what am I doing here? All right, well, I've got all that, right? So I know I need to do the 1 squared, all 3 of these, and the 2 at the bottom, every single time. If you want to take your reference sheet and you want me to do that, where I'll say, you know, you need to do this and that and that, you want to make a note on your reference sheet, that's how it goes, that's fine. So that you know I got to do this part. 1 squared, what's 1 squared? Well, first put the negative 1, the plus or minus. 1 squared is 1 times 1 is 1, right? Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20, and negative 20 times 4 is, what is that, 80? 80. 2 times 5 is 10. No, I have this now, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is what's on the inside. I'm going to do the inside. 1 plus 80 is 81 over 10. Now I'm going to do the radical, the whole thing. The square root of 81. Anybody do that in their calculator yet? What's the square root of 81? 9. Whoops. I know I put it down here, but I would put it up here. So -1 plus or minus 9 over 10, right? Notice that's this part. So now I'm going to split it apart because that's what my reference sheet tells me. -1 plus 9 over 10 and -1 minus 9 over 10. Just taking the plus over here, the minus over here. One plus 9 is 8 over 10. -1 minus 9, -10 over 10. 8 over 10 will reduce to what? Anybody? 4 over 5. And -10 divided by 10? -1. Does everybody see it? Not hard, just a lot of work. Okay? Do you notice? It's the same thing over and over again. You're just plugging different numbers into it. Once again, algebra is about process. The toughest part is to know if you have your calculators here, I'm pretty sure you can enter that whole thing underneath the radical and get to this step. My issue is if you don't know how to punch it in, you're going to come up wrong. Okay? So be careful with it. But I want to see this step because I want you to know what you're doing because, guys, there could be crazy numbers in here. We don't want that. So let's go ahead and do another one. And notice it needs to be equal to 0 at one side or the other in order to start doing this. So -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Yes, I memorized it because in my day, you had to memorize it. They didn't give us reference sheets. If you didn't know it, you couldn't solve it. So the opposite of b, this is my b. Well, it's -8, so my opposite is 8. Now it is what b is squared. And actually that's one thing you can goof up on because if you either way, if you have -8 squared or 8 squared, it's going to come out to be the same answer. But 8 squared, -8 squared. -4 stays. We're going to replace the a and the c. The a is 2. The c is 8. And that's all over 2 times what a is, which is 2. All right, the 8, the plus and the minus, and the radical stay. Anybody know -8 squared? Anybody get 64? Does everybody know how to do squared on your calculator here? Right next to square root, square. So if you want to put that in there, you put here, you put -8, right? Can you see it okay? -8, and then you hit the square button and hit equals. And on this calculator, it's going to say -64. I forgot about this. And there's a reason for that. Anytime you square a number, it's going to be positive. So this is what I'm going to tell you to do. I don't know if you guys here can see this. You're going to have to put parentheses around it. So you're going to do parenthesis -8 parentheses squared. Does everybody see what I did there? Everybody see that? If you have a negative number, you have to put it in parentheses. Then square it. Then hit equals, and now you'll get the appropriate number 64. All right? On this calculator, you have to put it in parentheses for it to be the right number. Although otherwise it thinks that you're doing -1 times 8 squared, which means it's going to square the 8 and then times it by -1. And that's a no-no. All right. Anybody -4 times 8? That's negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. 8 times 8, negative 64, right? Oh, yep. All 2 times 2, 4, right? All right, we're going to do that inside part. This is one of the outliers here, guys, and I did do this for a reason. 64 minus 64? What's 64 minus 64? 0. What's the square root of 0? Anybody? 0. So you have 8 plus 0 over 4 and 8 minus 0 over 4. Does it matter here? It's still 8 over 4, right? And 8 over 4? What's 8 divided by 4? 8 divided by 4? 2. What's 8 divided by 4? So since they're both 2, your answer is just 2. What happened here, guys, and I know that seems weird, you have your axis, right? This is our x-axis, what we're looking for. The parabola at, here's 1, here's 2, right? Your parabola does this. It just touches the x-axis at 2 only. It just swoops down. It's not like the normal ones. When we get 2, they look like this and you have 2 x-intercepts. It's just 1 intercept. All right? You guys at home, go ahead and try the next one. You guys here, try the next one on your own. So go ahead and get to that. You guys at home, just do one more. Do 5. And so 5, as you're going to see here, has that. That's negative 1. So the A, the B, and the C. Okay, and negative 2 is the C, negative 1 is the B, 3 is the A. So go ahead and try that at home, and you turn that in, and you're going to get full credit. Thank you. Bye.